Hey there, Heather. Hello there. It's Jeff Conradami. Welcome you to Stone Cold Hockey and another WHA season. We have the 1972-73 WHA season, the first ever World Hockey Association season, the league that would rival the NHL and steal players of the yin yang. There were only 12 franchises at this time: Alberta Oilers, that soon became the Edmonton Oilers, Chicago Cougars, Cleveland Crusaders with Jared Shevers, Houston Aeros that had Gordie Howe and his sons, the Los Angeles Sharks, Minnesota Fighting Saints, New England. Uh, hang on. Yeah. So where was I? Oh yeah, I talked about the Minnesota Fighting Saints, the New England Whalers that became the Hartford Whalers because Boston complained the name New England. The New York Golden Raiders, Ottawa Nationals that turned into the Toronto Toros, but we got the Birmingham Bulls, the Philadelphia hockey pucks. Oh yeah, the Philadelphia Blazers with Derek Sanderson, Quebec Nordiques, and Winnipeg Jets. So anyway, what's happening is all 12 teams got randomly selected into matchups. There are 4 teams that are in the quarterfinals and 8 teams that will be playing preliminaries. So if I'm looking right now, I believe it's Houston, Minnesota, Ottawa, and Quebec, who are in the quarterfinals. The others will have to play preliminary rounds. All right, so Cleveland versus New York. First game sees Cleveland win 3-2 as Whedon beats Kurt. Cleveland goes by Pumpo Pinder. Jerry Pinder, pair goals. I think he was a former Blackhawk. New York goes by Rich Move and Nick Ferguson. At Chicago LA, game 1 sees LA win 5-2 as George Gardner beats Don McLeod. LA goes by Cesura, Fenarusso, White, and then Fenarusso with the hat trick. Morris and Whitlock for Chicago. Philly beats Alberta 6-5. As Bernie Perrant, Bernie Perrant beat Jim Norris. Alberta goes by Jim Harrison, Ed Joyle, former King, Real Patterdude, Buddy Blanchette, and Jim Harrison. Philly goes by Andre Lacroix, who would go on to do decent things in the WHA, one of the best scorers ever. Lawson, Cardiff, Harryman, Burgess. Where's Derek Sanderson when you need him? Is he on the roster, Sanderson? Well, yeah, he kind of is on the roster. So, yeah. All right. So, game 1 of New England. Winnipeg sees Winnipeg losing to New England. Smith beats Wakely. Weird thing is, Winnipeg and New England met in the 1979 final. But anyway, Ernie Wakely, former Blue, losing to Al Smith. Winnipeg goals by Christian Bordelot and Jerry Rizzuto. New England goals by Tom Webster, the future Angela coach, Earl and Tim Sheehy. Game 2, Chicago LA sees LA win 2-0, go up 2 against nothing. Gillo beats Gill. Chicago goals by Lodebois, Jim Popel, and Bentalok. LA goes by Gilmore, White, McCaskill, Escalade, Gilmore, not the way you spell it, and Fenarusso. Philly crushing Alberta 9-2 as Codringer beats Brown. Alberta goes by Pennerly and McNeely, but Philly goes by Lacroix, Lawson with the hat trick. Lacroix, Cardiff, Lawson, again, his 4th point on the goal of the night. Campbell, and then McKenzie. John Pye McKenzie? Anyway, game 2 for New England. Winnipeg sees the Whale up 2-0. Landon, not Michael Landon, beats Joe Daly. Winnipeg goes by Sutherland, Black, and Asmussen. New England goes by Selby, Byers, Webster, and French. New York beats Chicago 6-5, so that series is 1-1. Donnelly beats Whidden. Cleveland goes by Erickson, Clearwater, Pumpo, Hodgson, and Pinder. New York goes by Jones, Bradley, not Brian Bradley, Bekosh, Ward, and Sheehan, Bobby Sheehan. All right, so 1-1, Philly, Alberta. Alberta wins in overtime to force at least a game 5. Norris beats Parent. Philly goes by McNeil, Lacroix, and Lawson. Nice job by Lawson, 6 goals. Al Hamilton, Cassian, and Doug Barry scoring, but in overtime was Patadud from Carlin and File Fontaine. Winnipeg beats New England 4-3 to keep going. Daly beats Landon. Winnipeg was up 4-0 on goals by Johnson, McDonald, Bolden, and Bobby Hall. New England goes by Ahern, Tom Webster, and Brad Selwood. Cleveland beat New York 6-3, so they're up 2-1. There's Jerry Evers beating Donnelly. New York goes by Ward, Peacosh. Cleveland goes by Paul Andrea, Buchanan, Greg Jarrett, Brindley, Hodgson, and Wist. Chicago beat LA 5-2 to make things happen. McLeod beats Gillow. LA goes by Fenarusso and McCaskill. Chicago goes by Wedlock, Rosie Paymont, Zaninsky, Rosie Paymont again, and then Reg Fleming, former Blackhawk. Again, so every series is at 2-1. Game 4, Winnipeg beats New England 4-2 to tie that series up. Wakely beats Smith. So Al Smith losing there early Wakely. New England was up 2-0. Jim French and Tom Webster, but Bobby Hall, Black, Hornig, and Sutherland scoring for Winnipeg. Cleveland beats New York 3-2. They're up 3-1. Whitten beats Donnelly. Cleveland goes by Paul Andrea, Dillabo, and Wist. Willix and Peacosh for New York. Chicago beat LA 4-3 as McLeod beats Yerner. Chicago goes by Paymont, Morris, and then 2 goes by Rich Fleming. White, Fanarusso, and Gilmore for the Sharks. Last time for the Sharks. And Alberta wins 6-2 to tie their series up as Norris beats Parent. Philly goes by Lawson. He's got 8. Alberta goes by Baird, Jim Harrison, Walters, Perkins, and Baird. Cleveland, can they win their series? They will. 5-3 over New York. Whitten beats Kurt. Cleveland goes by Wist, Buchanan, Jared, and Buchanan. Well, Buchanan hat trick. New York goes by Sheehan, Ward, and Wayne Rivers. Let's take a look at Cleveland team. Bob Whitten and Jerry Cheevers and goalies. Ron Buchanan, Gary Jarrett. 7 points, Paul Andrea, Ted Hodgson there, Paul Schmier, Jerry Pinder, Bob Dillenbow. Yeah, I'm doing that. Chicago, LA. Chicago wins back at home 5-3 as Gill beats Gardner. Chicago goes by Fleming, Whitlock, Loboa, and Liddington. Sharks goes by Sosura, Watson, and Crashley. Oh, that Joe Watson? Jim Watson. Okay, Jim Watson, future Flyer. Alberta beats Philly 3-2 as Norris beats Paye. Philly goes by Campbell and Burgess. Alberta goes by Jim Harrison, Wall, and Perkins. Game 5, Winnipeg wins 4-2 over New England. Wakely beats Landon. Winnipeg goes by Bordelot, Bobby Hall, Ab McDonald, and Sean Cuddy after New England was up 2-0 goals by Britt Selfie and Tim Sheehy. Game 6 Chicago cannot do it. They lose to LA in overtime. Gardner beats Gill. Chicago goes by Laboa, Rosie Paymont, and Morris. LA goes by Hinman, LeBlanc, Fenarusso, and then in overtime, Gilmore from Heiskala. Philly beats Alberta 5-4. Paye beats Norris, so that's a game 7. Alberta goes by Barry, Baird, Perkins, and Perkins. Philly goes by O'Donohue, Lawson, Lacroix, Burgess, and Harriman. Winnipeg wins over New England, so they're in the quarterfinals. Wakely beats Landon. New England goes by Green, Earl, Larry Plow, and Tommy Webster. Winnipeg goes by Ab McDonald, Bobby Hall, Jerry Risuto, Neil Baldwin, and then Bobby Hall in overtime, 58 seconds from Ash. Take a look at Winnipeg. Ernie Wakely and Joe Daly, both pretty good players. Bobby Hall, Larry Horning, Ab McDonald, yep, Norm Baldwin, Christian Buderlo, Garth Risuto, Joe Sanusi. On that game sevens, poof. Chicago wins on home turf 3-2. McLeod beats Gillow. LA goes by LeBlanc and Federuso. Man, he had 9 goals, but no, I don't know. Rosie Paymont, Sitsinski, and then Rosie Paymont are your heroes for the Chicago Cougars. Jim McLeod 3-1, Andre Gill 1-2. Rosie Paymont 13 points, Bob Sitsinski 11, Reg Fleming 8 points. John Papil there, Bob Barber. And then game seven, in that series, Philly wins on home turf. Payet beats Norris. Alberta was up 2-0 on goals by Patterson and Hick, but Lawson is 10th. McKenzie and O'Donoghue. So Philly's in. Brady Perrant 1-2. Marcel Payet 2-1, former Bruins goalie, and then Tom Cotteringer. Daniel Lawson 13 points, 11. Brian Campbell 10. John Pye McKenzie, I guess that was it. Yeah, Pye McKenzie was on that team. And Michel Bordelot. Quarterfinals, Chicago gets Ottawa, so you got Ottawa. Philadelphia and Winnipeg have to bump each other. Quebec, Minnesota, those two teams made it through the quarterfinals bye, so they'll face each other. Houston will face Cleveland. So yeah, nice to see here what happens here. So yeah, it gave you a very short first round. This video we saw Cleveland take down New York from 5 games. Chicago winning game 7 against Los Angeles. Winnipeg taking in New England in 6, and Philly over Alberta in 7. Of course, Chicago, LA is not the NHL. It's not Blackhawks Kings. It's more like Cougars versus the Sharks. So we're down to 8 teams. So Chicago, the Chicago Cougars, the Philadelphia Blazers, the Houston Aeros, and the Cleveland Crusaders all qualified. Houston and Cleveland have to bump into each other in a quarterfinal. Philly will now take on Winnipeg. Sorry, the new team. Yeah, Winnipeg. Sorry. They played Philly. So Winnipeg will play on Philly. Chicago will take on Ottawa. Quebec and Minnesota, the only matchup of the quarterfinals in which those two teams actually had byes. So the Ottawa Civics, as we call them, are in now against the Cougars. The Ottawa Civics became the Toronto Toros, that became the Birmingham Bulls. Philadelphia Blazers had Derek Sanderson for a while. Keep thinking. Now Philly and Winnipeg both qualified. No, Houston didn't. Okay, Houston didn't go to the preliminary round. So Philadelphia and Winnipeg face each other. The Houston Aeros, that's where Gordie Howe played. Cleveland Crusaders, that's where Jerry Cheevers played, and all that. I think Houston preliminary. Oh, Houston weren't in the preliminaries. Okay, and Quebec, Minnesota. The Quebec Nordiques, who soon would go to the NHL as part of the great expansion against the Minnesota Fighting Saints. Great logo, terrible finances. So anyway, let's go to game ones. Ottawa beat Chicago 6-4 as Gilles Gratton, Gratuny the Looney, took on Gill. Chicago goals by Nibs, Szynski, Rosie Paymont, and Benzelik. Ottawa goals by King, Cunningham, Sense, Charlebois, Bobby Charlebois, Wayne Carlton, former Leaf, and Bruin, I think, and Terry Simpson. I don't know if that's really Terry Simpson. Philadelphia Winnipeg, game one, sees Winnipeg win 5-2 as Wakely takes down Perrant. Philly goals by Campbell and McKenzie. Hi, McKenzie. Winnipeg goals by Christian Bordelot, Boldan, Sweenson, Bodan, his fourth, and then Russo. Houston Cleveland game one sees Houston win 6-2 as Wayne Rutledge takes down Wooden. He was on for only 27 minutes. I don't know why he didn't play. Cleveland goals by Hodgson and Hardy, not Jeff Hardy. Houston goals by Hall, Leboisier, Blair McDonald, Leboisier, Hughes, and Taylor. I think this was the season before Gordie Howe came. I don't think any of the Howes were part of Houston. No, this was a non-Gordie Howe team, Houston. Minnesota beats Quebec in game one, 4-2, as Caron beats King Richard Brodeur, who would soon carve out his career as a Vancouver Canuck in the 82 playoff run. Minnesota goes by Collat, Wayne Connolly, former Bruin, Antonovich, and Billy McMillan. Quebec goals by Andre Gaudette and Jean-Guy Jeannot. Game twos. Philly wins 3-2 as Perrant beats Wakely. Winnipeg goes by Bodan and Black. Philly goes by Campbell, Burgess, and McKenzie. Cleveland beats Houston 4-2 in game 2 as Cheevers takes down Don McLeod. Cleveland goes by Craig, Skip Craig, Jack Hanna, West, and Dillabo. Houston goes by Hall and Hoekstra. Minnesota beating Quebec 5-2 in game 2 as Curran beats Serge Aubry. Quebec goes by Jean Claude Tremblay, JC Tremblay, former Canadian, and Real McClurk. Minnesota goes by Connick, Wayne Connolly, Christensen, and Lilyholm. Meanwhile, Ottawa beat Chicago 4-3 in game 2 as Les Binkley beats McLeod. Chicago goes by Sane, Liddington, and Szynski. Ottawa goes by Leduc, Carlton, Charbois, and Simpson. Game 3s. Houston beats Cleveland 5-3 to take a 2-1 series lead. Redlich beats Jeebers. Houston goes by Harris, Grierson, Hughes, Loboza, West Pinder, and Hardy. Houston wins. Minnesota is now 3-0 on Quebec as Curran beats Albury. Quebec goal by Gombrowski, Morrison, Christensen, John Arbor, Klatt, Hampson, and Connick scoring for the Fighting Saints. Ottawa wins 5-2. They're up 3-0 on Chicago. Binkley takes down McLeod. Chicago goes by Morris and Morris. Ottawa goes by Wayne Carleton, Guy Trottier, Gibbons, Gavin Kirk. Gotta remember, what was his claim to fame in the WHA? I think he scored the first ever goal in the WHA. Anyway, Wayne Carleton. Meanwhile, Winnipeg beats Philly 4-1 to take a 2-1 series lead. Wakely beats Perrant. Philly goal by O'Donoghue. Winnipeg goes by Bobby Hall, Johnson, Bordelot, and Bordelot again. Game 4, will Minnesota sweep? The answer is yes, they will. To overtime, Jack McCartan, the hero of the 1960 Olympics for the USA. The hero, Quebec goal by Caron Hampson from Minnesota. Then Bill Clyde at 5:41 from Hampson and Morrison. And Quebec gets swept by Minnesota. Does Ottawa sweep? The answer is not yet. They lose in overtime. McLeod beats Grattan. Ottawa goes by Kirk, Gibson, and Brian Conacher. Brian Conacher, really? Yeah, Chicago goes by Red Fleming, Popiel, and Sosinski. Then Sosinski his sixth on the power play from Benzlak and Prozovac with Stephenson in the box. Winnipeg with a shutout win over Philly. Wakely doing it against Marcel Paillet. Black, Hornig, Boudin, and Joe Sanusi. The throw-in of that disastrous Park for Esposito trade in 75. Meanwhile, Houston beats Cleveland 3-1, so they're up 3-1. Hughes beats Cheevers. Cleveland did go Buchanan, but McDonald, Hughes, and Harris for Houston. Does Ottawa take down Chicago? The answer is yes. Binkley takes down McLeod. Ottawa goes by Martin, Gibson, Simpson, and Gibson. Chicago goes by Whitlock, Pupio, and Barber. Not Bill Barber. I would have known if he went to the WHA. Winnipeg beats Philly 7-3. Daly beats Archambault. Philly goes by Lawson, Burgess, and Burgess. Lawson, Winnipeg goes by Black, Bordelot, Swenson, Horning, Hall, Bobby Hall, Cato, and Bordelot. Christian Bordelot. Houston does it. Nope. Cleveland prevents the 5-game series that basically means that they're a quick series. Houston loses 4-3 to Cleveland. Hannah, West, Buchanan, and Paul Schmier for Cleveland. Houston goes by Lund, Hall, and McCallum. Houston does beat Cleveland 5-2 as McLeod beats Whitten. Houston goes by Hoekstra, Harris, Lund, Labuza, and Lund again. Cleveland goes by Hopiaviori and Buchanan. So the semifinals, we'll see Houston versus Winnipeg and Ottawa versus Minnesota. Of the 4 teams left, Houston, Don McLeod, Wayne Redlich, and Bill Hughes. So Don McLeod 1 and 2, but yeah, Redlich and Hughes have done better. Guire Loboisier, 9 points. Larry Lund, Ed Hoekstra, Paul Papil, Brian McDonough, Gord Kensinger, Brian Smith. Minnesota, the Fighting Saints, Mike Curran and Jack McCartan, the goalies. Wayne Connolly, 5 points for Bruin. John Arbor there. Ted Hampson, former SEAL. Bob McMillan, Mike Antonovich. Ottawa, Les Binkley and Gilles Graton. Wayne Carleton, 12 points already. Guy Trottier, Gavin Kirk. Brian Conacher, yeah, that's him. Mike Amadeo. And Winnipeg. Ernie Weekly and Joe Daly doing their job. Bobby Hall, Larry Horning, Norm Mardwen, Christian Borderlow, Ad McDonald, Joe Sanusi, Guy Frasudo, Bob Wojciechowicz. All right, so Houston, Winnipeg, game one of the semis. Sees Winnipeg win 5-2 as Daly beats Redledge. Houston goes by Harris and Lund. Winnipeg goes by Rousseau, McDonald, Rasudo, Johnson, and Bordelot. Ottawa beats Minnesota 3-1 in game one of their series. Graton beats Kren. Ryan scored for Minnesota. Carlton, Climby, and Simpson for Ottawa. Game two, Ottawa beats Minnesota 3-2 as Graton beats McCartan. Minnesota goes by Morrison and Connolly, but Charbois, Simpson, Carlton scoring for Ottawa. Yeah, Connolly and Carlton, both former Bruins. Houston wins game two against Winnipeg. Redledge beats Wakely. Houston goes by Popiel, Hall, Taylor, and Harris. Winnipeg goes by Bordelot and Johnson. Game threes. Houston wins game three of that series against Winnipeg. Redledge beats Daly. Grierson, Taylor, and Harris. Hey, Harris. Winnipeg goes by Bordelot and Hornick. Bordelot is 10th. Ottawa beats Minnesota 5-2. It looks like they're sweep. Gilles Graton looking good. Minnesota goes by Pearson and Klatt, but Ottawa goes by Carlton, Sense, Trottier, and Conacher. Brian Conacher. Wayne Carlton looking good. Does Ottawa sweep? Well, answer is yes, they will. They sweep the Fighting Saints 4-3. Graton beats McCartan. Minnesota goes by McMahon. You're fired. Klatt and Antonovich. Ottawa goes by Trottier, Cunningham, Carlton doing his job. Meanwhile, Houston beats Winnipeg 3-2. Rutledge beats Daly. Winnipeg was up 2-0. Bordelot and Baudin, but then Hughes, Hoekstra, and Leboisier with the goals. And Winnipeg beats Houston 3-1 to stay alive. Daly beats McLeod. Houston goes by Harris. Wojciechowicz. Ab McDonald and Christian Bordelot for Winnipeg. Game 6 sees Winnipeg win 3-2. Wakely beats McLeod. Wow. Houston goes by Hoekstra and Lund. Hornick, Ash, and Baudin for Winnipeg. Can Winnipeg come from 3-1 down to win this series? The answer is they don't. Houston crushes at 8-4. Wakely loses to Rutledge. Houston was up 3-0 before you know it. Winnipeg goes by Baudin, Johnson, Baudin, and Horning. Houston goes by Harris, Hale, Lavoison, Lund, Taylor, Grierson, and Hale. Hale, Ravonia. Please, I didn't make up. So it's Ottawa and Houston. Houston, how did they get here? They went through the quarterfinals against Cleveland, 4-2 at Winnipeg in 7 games. So they went 13 games. Ray Lutridge 6-1 for Blue. I think it was Don McLeod 1-4, Bill Hughes 1-0. So it's plain to see you got to use Rutledge in the net for Houston. Look, Gordon LeBoissier were 19 points. Duke Harris has 9 goals to lead all the Houston score. LeBoissier 6 goals, 13 assists though. Meanwhile, Ottawa lost one solitary game against Chicago in the quarterfinals and then swept Minnesota. Graton 5-1, Les Binkley 3-0. Carlton 21 points. No Ottawa player has more than 7. Can you believe it? Kirk, Charbois, Trottier, King, and Gibbons all have 7 points. Tom Simpson with 5 goals. Wayne Carlton with 10 goals and 11 assists. It's a one-man show, Wayne Carlton. We look at the goals race. Christian Bordelot with 12. Danny Lawson with 11. Wayne Carlton has 10. He's trying to catch Bordelot for that mark. Duke Harris trying to do something there. Points-wise, Carlton and Bordelot at 21. Bobby Hall with 20 points. A lot of assists. Mike Curran, his 2-4-2 goals against average, pretty good. So Ottawa Houston game 1. We see Houston beat Ottawa 4-2 as Rutledge beats Grattan. Ottawa goals by Carlton and Carlton, becoming one-man band. Houston goals by Taylor, McDonald, Popiel, and Hoekstra, who I believe his son became the coach of the Flyers nowadays. Game 2 sees Houston win 5-4 as Rutledge beats Binkley. Houston goals by Taylor, Mortson, Leboisier, Taylor, and Taylor. So Taylor with the hat trick. Ottawa goals by Cunningham, Leduc, Carlton, and Charlebois. Houston wins in overtime over Ottawa. Rutledge beats Binkley. Ottawa goes by Gibbons, Carlton, King, and Gibson. Houston goes by Lund, Hall, Stanfield, Lund, and then overtime by Duke Harris is 10th from Popiel and Hull. And does Houston sweep Ottawa? They do, 6-2. They do 6-2. Don McLeod beats Shields Graton. Ottawa goals by Simpson and Wayne Carlton. 15 goals by Wayne Carlton this whole season, yet they can't win the tournament. Houston goals by Leboisier, Taylor, Hall, McDonald, and Hoekstra. So there you go. The Houston Aeros win the championship. Wayne Ludwig. Oh, sorry, he was a former LA King, I think. Rutledge 9-1. Don McLeod 2-4. Hughes 1-0. But yeah, Wayne Rutledge. You should have kept him in. Well, it didn't matter. They swept. Leboisier 27 points to lead the team. Ted Taylor with 20. Larry London, Duke Harris with 15. Taylor and Harris both with 10 point goals. And Leboisier, Scala, 11 assists but no goals. Leboisier put up 19 assists. So that is basically the Houston Aeros winning without Gordie Howe, without Mark and Marty Howe. So, Wayne Rutledge, very good guy. So there's your 1972-73 WHA champions. The next tournament will be the 73-74 versions, the second year WHAers. Anyway, I'm Jeff Duggan.